Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very, very long overdue episode of EBF Reviews. This is the series where I take an artist, band, singer, what have you, from any genre, and I review each and every single one of their albums in chronological order. Now, for those of you new to this, I'm only talking albums. I'm only taking studio releases, so no EPs, no live albums, compilations, otherwise, we would be here forever. So, today we're going to be covering one of my personal favorite pop singers, Lana Del Rey. So, Lana Del Rey is an American pop singer who was born in New York, however, she is currently, from what I remember hearing, living in California. And a lot of her songs are very, very interesting to say the least. Like, they really capture a sort of 1950s meets film noir-esque version of California, which I've always been interested in for a very long time. So, and it's really what made me a fan of hers. And I started becoming a fan uh, of her music after watching American Horror Story Freak Show, which, trust me, I will be getting into later on in this video. So if you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. It's going to help me a lot. It's going to help me tremendously. And also hit that notification bell to be notified for any future videos. So with that shameless plug-in out of the way, let's get into it. And we're going to be getting started on her debut album, Born to Die, released in 2012. As I mentioned, this is her debut album, and it's, the critics really didn't like it too much. However, I personally enjoyed it. It does kind of have that very unique sort of baroque pop, trip hop vibe to it. However, it also kind of, as I mentioned earlier, paints this sort of film noir style set in 1950s California. So, of course, you get, your little bops, your fun songs in this album, such as Off to the Races, Diet Mountain Dew, and, of course, the title track being Born to Die. And then, of course, there are very, very somber ballads in this particular album that I personally really enjoyed. A little more than the bops, but probably about this much. Those are, of course, Video Games, Dark Paradise, and, of course, the ever popular Summertime Sadness. Some of them even do have a little bit of social commentary, and of course, I'm talking about National Anthem, which really addresses consumerism and wealth and all that other stuff. So, despite the critics not exactly liking this album very much, I personally really, really enjoyed it, and it's one album that I would personally give a spin quite a bit. So, my final rating for this album is a 4.5 out of 5. It's not perfect, but it's a very solid debut, and I personally really enjoyed this album. Next up, and I'm gonna kind of break my own rule a little bit in this upcoming one, and this is, of course, I'm referring to the Paradise EP, which was released in 2012. Now, again, I am cheating because this is an EP. However, it's also a bit of an add-on to Born to Die, because they did release the Born to Die Paradise edition. This is the only reason I'm really mentioning this album and really giving it a shout out is because this is the album that got me into Lana Del Rey in the first place. Now, of course, it does kind of have that sound, that sound that's very similar to Born to Die. However, it does feel a little darker, but probably about, like I said, about this much. Of course, this is the album that really introduced me, or I'm sorry, the EP that really introduced me to Lana Del Rey, and this is all thanks to the song Gods and Monsters, which, really gained traction thanks to American Horror Story Freak Show in this episode where Jessica Lange's character actually sang the song. And it was just such a moment for me because I really because at this time I never really listened to Lana Del Rey. Like I only knew her name, but I never really listened to her music. You know, mostly because I wasn't really that big of a pop fan. But when I heard that song, oh man, like I really enjoyed it, and I said no, I am immediately going to iTunes and getting the Paradise EP just for that song. But I wound up really falling in love with it. So of course, Paradise EP really does contain a lot of bops in the song. Most notably the song Ride, which I personally really enjoyed. Like I really did enjoy Ride. I mean, I honestly, and pun intended here, pardon the pun, I always just ride a bike just to listen to that song, and I feel like I'm just traveling down a lonesome highway and just, you know, enjoying the ride, enjoying life, and just being free. And then, of course, and the funny thing about this album is that there are even 3 songs that were used in a short film called Tropico, which is a sort of modern retelling of Adam and Eve and their fall from grace and paradise. So overall, this is a very, very solid EP, and if you're getting into Lana Del Rey for the first time, this is the EP that I highly recommend you listen to. Or if you want to go for it, go for the Paradise edition of Born to Die. So my final rating for this EP is a very enthusiastic 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. Amazing EP, amazing work. So next up we have Ultraviolence, which is Lana Del Rey's second studio album, and it is a definite departure from the trip hop vibe albums that came before it, most notably Born to Die and the Paradise EP. So this is a very interesting album because it really does kind of sound a little darker, but it still kind of does paint that sort of, you know, very noirish picture of California. But this is actually set to a very sort of indie rock vibe, which has, you know, which kind of gives the album a slightly darker, grittier tone. You know, you definitely see it, especially in songs like Florida Kilos, Brooklyn Baby, and of course Ultraviolence, the title track. I love that very dark and gritty tone to this album. You know, I just really enjoyed the aforementioned songs. This is definitely an album I would spin repeatedly. My final rating for Ultraviolence is an easy 5 out of 5. It's like I said, it's definitely a departure from Born to Die, but it's a very well done departure. So it's one that I really enjoyed, and I really love this side of Lana Del Rey. So let's see. Next up, we have Honeymoon, which is Lana Del Rey's third album, and this is definitely something different from Ultraviolence. Whereas Ultraviolence had a very sort of gritty and dark tone, Honeymoon just had a very beautiful and, dare I say, a little sensuous tone. So, you know, and it's funny because, like, the best way I could describe Honeymoon is the yin to Ultraviolence's yang. So this is like sort of 2 different sides of Lana Del Rey. So of course, Ultraviolence is basically Lana Del Rey in a very sort of, you know, city girl next door, you know, like the type of girl who you would, you know, practically just hang out with and maybe watch a football game or something with. But you still would kind of have that kind of crush on her. Whereas Honeymoon is just Lana Del Rey as a very beautiful lounge singer. So very sophisticated, very beautiful, very, you know what I mean? Just very, very Jessica Rabbit-like. Just to point that out. Now the style of this album is very, very romantic. So it's got that sort of 60s cabaret style vocal work as well as melody. Um, there's so many great songs. High by the Beach is the top single off of the song, is easily one of the finest songs I've ever heard. And of course, some standout tracks, and I'm even going to throw in some deep cuts in here, being the title track, Honeymoon, which is just so beautiful and, dare I say, a little melancholy. Salvatore is another one. High by the Beach is just fun, as I mentioned. And even her cover of Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood by Santa Esmeralda is another good one. It's got like a very different take on Santa Esmeralda, which is where Santa Esmeralda has this sort of flamenco-esque vibe. This one is just very sort of sultry, very, you know, 60s lounge singer vibe. So, all in all, I mean, it's personally, in my opinion, it's not as good as Ultraviolence, but it's still a very solid album, and it's definitely one I did enjoy listening to. So my final rating for this album is an easy 4.5 out of 5. Again, not entirely perfect, but I really did enjoy it. So next up, we have Lust for Life, which was released in 2017, and this is Lana Del Rey's fourth album, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most star-studded albums in her discography, and it also, and tone-wise, it also offers a bit of a throwback to what Lana Del Rey was known for in the beginning, but at the same time, it kind of does feature a little bit of her current sound. So it's kind of like the best of both, in like the best of both worlds scenario. Of course, it does have, like Honeymoon, it does have an overall vibe of romance and really just loving life, you know, and it does even have some hip hop elements in some songs, such as Summer Bummer and Groupie Love, which featured rappers Playboi Carti and A$AP Rocky, and even a little bit of R&B vibes, modern R&B vibes, in songs such as the title track, Lust for Life, featuring The Weeknd. Love is another one that is a bit of a throwback to just old, sort of slight Motown vibes. I mean, it just has like a fun bass track, which I've actually done a playthrough of. You can definitely check that video out. Of course, and besides the rappers, and of course The Weeknd, it also features some rock singers such as Stevie Nicks and Sean Ono Lennon, the son of John and Yoko Ono Lennon, and of course the aforementioned legendary Fleetwood Mac vocalist Stevie Nicks. So it is a very solid star-studded album, and it's a very fun album to listen to. I mean, of course, it's very diverse. It has just so many different sounds, and I really, really enjoyed this album. So my final rating for Lust for Life is an easy 4.5 out of 5. I mean, again, it's a solid album. I mean, sure, it does have some moments, but they're very slight. Great album overall. Excuse me. Next up, we have Lana Del Rey's fifth studio album, and pardon my French for any kids saying this, but the album is called Norman fucking Rockwell, or just for the sake of, you know, the kids watching, we're just going to call it by its abbreviation, NFR. So, NFR is a definite departure from Lust for Life, as it kind of has a very smooth vibe. It just goes back to the vibes from her previous albums, most notably Honeymoon, and even a little bit of just a slight bit of Ultraviolence. It does retain the Baroque pop elements, but there are even some folk rock and some soft rock elements here. Some songs that I really enjoyed that really kind of define this album for me are easily California, Mariners Apartment Complex, Mariners apartment complex. Sorry, try saying that 5 times fast. Uh, F It, I Love You, uh, Venice B, and of course her cover of Sublime's song "Doing Time," which is just such a mellow take on a sort of hip hop ish uh, vibe song. Um, Great album, easily one of my favorite albums of 2019, and one that I would definitely listen to again and again. So my final rating for NFR is an easy 5 out of 5. I mean, it's just, what can I say about it? It's just such a great album. So next up we have Chemtrails Over the Country Club, and this is Lana Del Rey's sixth studio album released in 2021. Now, this album is a very interesting one as it kind of continues vibe-wise the sound of NFR. Only the difference is that this one really just dives in deeper into the sort of Americana and folk rock vibes. The songs, the style are just a lot smoother, and of course her vocals just really just soothe in this album. So the thing I love about Chemtrails is that it just sounds so organic. It doesn't sound so mass produced, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't rely a lot on synthesized beats, just like, just like in her previous works. Not that there's anything wrong with synthesized beats, but occasionally, like, it's just best to really kind of go old school and just really kind of try to capture that organic vibe. And I think Lana did such a great job of capturing that vibe here in this particular album. So of course it doesn't really feature any guests like Lust for Life. I mean, neither did NFR, but this one really just shines in my opinion because it just sounds so rustic, so vintage, and I just really love that particular sound coming from Lana Del Rey. So honestly, like, my final rating for Chemtrails is an easy 5 out of 5. I mean, it's just perfect. I love this album. I can just listen to this thing over and over and over again. Just right next to NFR. Just easy listening, very calm, soothing, just amazing work. So next up we have Blue Banisters, also released in 2021. I swear 2021 must have been a really busy year for Lana Del Rey, as this is her 7th studio album, and I gotta say Blue Banisters is interesting. It's just very eclectic, a little more multi-dimensional than Chemtrails, Over the Country Club, and NFR, as it does kind of feature the same elements. However, this one even kind of goes into jazz. You know, like, I really enjoyed the jazzy elements of this album. However, there is one gripe I have with it, and this is my main complaint with it, and that is, of course, the trio, which just feels so out of place here. Because it's like, imagine you get, a song that sounds, very soft rock, very, folky. Then you get a song that kind of sounds kind of jazz, but it kind of does combine those two elements. And then right out of nowhere, right out of left field, you get a very hip-hop influenced take on the trio from Ennio Morricone, or however you pronounce his name. Like a spaghetti western hip-hop song, hip-hop beat, just coming out of left field. It's like, one of these things just doesn't belong here, you know what I mean? Like, that's like really the only gripe I have. The song isn't too bad, but it just feels so off, it feels so out of place. in this album. So, I mean, that's just really my only gripe with Blue Banisters. I mean, other than that, you know, Blue Banisters is a very solid album. And yeah, like I have nothing bad to say about it. So my final rating for Blue Banisters is an easy 4 to 5. I mean, other than that slight gripe, it does kind of feel very consistent, and it's just what I really enjoyed about this album. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really spin it, but occasionally, sure, I'll listen to it. So next up, we have her latest album, which is, and prepare for a mouthful. Did you know that there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? Yes, I know that is a mouthful. Now, this is Lana Del Rey's A Studio album, released in 2023, so released 2 years ago. And oh man, what can I say about this album? So, I really do enjoy Lana Del Rey being eclectic and, you know, being very, how can I put it, ambitious. But I feel as though this album is a little too inconsistent and too all over the place. I mean, for starters, the skits just kind of, I'm not really feeling the vibe of the skits. Um, some songs are actually pretty solid, like the title track is solid, and Let the Light In featuring Father John Misty. Uh, of course, it does kind of feature like some folk, country, Americana kind of vibes, but it just feels so inconsistent, and it's just something that I can't really get into. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't. I'm not feeling this album too much. Like, I wouldn't really listen to it again, to be quite honest with you. It's okay, but it's just not something that I would really get into. So my final rating for Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard is an easy 3.5 out of 5. I mean, sure, it does have some good moments, but I just feel as though the good is slightly outweighed by the not so great. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, if you're really into content like this, if you really enjoy my artist reviews, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can get notified for any future videos. And with that, this is EB Fuentes signing off. Take care, guys. Have an awesome day.